Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week, I predicted that number 1 would be Heretic, number 2 would be Venom: The Last Dance, number 3 would be The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, number 4 would be The Wild Robot, and number 5 would be Smile 2. And I did get 2 out of 5 of my predictions right for this weekend. It's like take my 1 through 3, but then like shift them so Heretic goes to the bottom and and then the 1 and 2 just go up a slot. It's okay, whatever. It's fine. Nobody else got their predictions right, unfortunately. Let's just, a lot of people assume that Heretic would maybe do a little bit better than the Christmas one that I didn't know many people knew about. And, judging by the numbers, it's not like amazing. You know what I mean? So let's just dive right on into it. Number 1 was once again Venom: The Last Dance, making 16 million, adding to a domestic total of 114 million now, placing it 99 million away from the original Venom and Let There Be Carnage's domestic run. So catching up a little bit. It is slowing down a bit, and then not just next week. Next week is Red One, but then after that it's Gladiator and Wicked. People are already saying, like, is this the Barbie and Oppenheimer of 2024? End of Thanksgiving, late fall kind of releases, stuff like that. And then after that is Moana 2. So we're, about to get an onslaught, and I don't see Venom 3 having the same momentum to get to the other 2 films now at this point. Worldwide, it is sitting at 394 million, so that places it 107 million away from Let There Be Carnage. So, there you go. It also did manage to triple its initial production budget of 120 million now officially. If it gets to 480 million, that's a quadruple. Once again, just momentum-wise, it does not seem like it has that, but, like we've been saying, this wasn't like a horrible run. If you are comparing to the heights of the last 2 films, yeah, it's not amazing. It's only a little bit off from Let There Be Carnage now at this point for the overall worldwide total. But, it just always seemed like that was kind of like the natural progression of these things. You know what I mean? Like, domestically, sure, it's fallen off from the last 2 films, since those ones, weirdly enough, ended in the same spot, kind of. But as far as, like, worldwide number, it usually happens with, like, franchises. Sometimes you're lucky and it gets higher with each one, or you get an insane amount of money in your first go-around and then you make more, and it's like, okay, it's not as much. I guess, the recent Star Wars trilogy is something to compare that to. Jurassic World, I think, was in the same way. I'm not actually sure where. I think Dominion ended up a little lower than Fallen Kingdom, so I think that checks out too. It's just because Venom's not like in the $1 billion, big boy franchise club. It's just, it maybe looks a little worse because it's on a bit of a lower success scale. God, this is weird to describe. I think you know what I mean. I don't think I need to, delve further into this. Let's move on to number 2 now, which is The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, making $11.1 million. Now, this is on a budget of $10 million, so despite there being no worldwide total as of right now, it is only $9 million away from doubling this very low budget. So, they're in a good spot. And also, Red One is coming out next weekend, but maybe some people are like, I want to take them to an actual wholesome Christmas film from Kingdom Story Company, the director of The Chosen TV series or whatever the fuck. So maybe they'll overlook big action, scary monster Red One and go for this, and it'll have a solid hold. Let me clarify. I'm not saying that like The Best Christmas Pageant Ever is going to have such a great hold that it like trumps Red One. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, as far as like there might be some audience division as far as that goes for week 2 for this movie, or not. Whatever, doesn't matter. As far as Kingdom Story Company goes, it is 2 million the opening weekend, 2 million above I Still Believe, and 4 million below Jesus Revolution. Why am I only mentioning those 2 films? Because that places this movie's opening weekend as the second highest opening ever for the company. And that's pretty good. Maybe a Christmas one is a safe bet. It's also based off of a book. You flaunt the, director of The Chosen doing it. It does have a little bit, I'm not sure how it differs from the book in this instance, but it does have a little bit more of like an emphasis on the, religious Christianity aspect of it. So that bumps it up a little bit. So yeah, second highest for the company. Good job, Kingdom Story Company. As far as overall domestic runs, it did outgross Jesus Music, their documentary, if I remember correctly, by 10 million. It outgrossed Whitebird, which I guess was also them, recently by 7 million, and it's 1 million over I Still Believe. And you might be wondering, how come it had an opening weekend 2 million above I Still Believe and it just outgrossed the domestic run as well? You might have forgotten that I Still Believe was a COVID release. It literally came out the very last weekend of box office. Was it paired with Bloodshot? Or maybe it was like a week before with Onward. Honestly, I do not remember. No, it was a week before. Yeah, that's right, because Bloodshot was with The Hunt. So it was a week before with Onward and another movie, I Still Believe. I figured it out, guys. Live. Not live when this goes up. Sorry, it needs 8 million now until it outgrosses Ordinary Angels for Kingdom Story Company, but that does place it in the top 5 highest domestic runs for the company right now. So there you go. Good job, Kingdom Story Company. Weird name. Can we all agree on that at least? It's a bit of a clunky name. Can we just agree a little bit on that? Let's move on to number 3, which is Heretic, making 11.01 million. So these two are technically neck and neck. It does look like Best Christmas Pageant Ever is going to pull ahead. Gosh, I can't think of any recent parallels. That, it might be, similar to this, maybe not for like the country as a whole, but certain states, maybe a swing state or two. I don't know why I'm bringing that up. We don't need to. I'm not sure what the budget of this movie is. Worldwide, it is only bumped up to 13 million as of right now. I am going to assume, since it is a chamber piece and that, different rooms in the house, so different set design stuff, but, it is like a much smaller cast, and Hugh Grant, had even jokingly said, but I think there's some truth to it, like they didn't pay him as much as maybe something else. So I'm going to assume maybe the budget caps out at like maybe 10 million. That's like my high estimate, you know what I mean? So I feel like they're in a pretty good spot. They did get a C+ cinema score, but also, I feel like this is something that has people's interest anyway. So once again, I think they're in a pretty solid spot. But one thing I didn't really expect from this movie is that for A24, and with A24 opening weekends, it varies from like every once in a while you'll get a wide release, like it's when they say it comes out, and then other times they have their award season rollout, and whether it's a good award season rollout or not depends on however they're feeling at the moment, you know what I mean? But as far as their wide release opening weekends, Heretic is actually their third best opening weekend. It is 1 million over Talk to Me, which I guess would be the previous number 3 spot, right? And that was just last year. It comes out 2 million below Hereditary's, and then earlier this year, Civil War, it's below that opening weekend by 14 million. So, I haven't really seen many people talking about it, but, A24 has, a win in that regard. Heretic is their third highest opening weekend, and that's pretty damn cool if you ask me, all things considered. And then you look at the two directors, Beckham Woods, they co-wrote Quiet Place together. They didn't direct that film, obviously. They did direct 65 with Adam Driver. So of course I'm going to be comparing those ones right now, because why the fuck not? Leave me alone. As far as the two opening weekends, it comes in just 1 million below 65, which is genuinely kind of a bummer, because 65, that one let me down when I saw that in theaters. Heretic was like, this is awesome. This is everything I wanted, pretty much. This is such a great movie. I wish it came in a little higher than that, but maybe when the official numbers come out, who knows? Or maybe it'll have a better holdover just because of people talking about it. And there's certainly more interesting things to talk about with this than 65, or even the Best Christmas Pageant Ever, or Venom, or blah 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 blah. It is sitting away from 65 by 21 million in the domestic run, and then worldwide it's 43 million from 65. Maybe next weekend I'll pivot and write out the stats for the A24 films it's outgrossing. I think that'll be better, just to kind of see, for now we can celebrate the opening weekend, though I wanted to kind of highlight that specifically, and then just, throw in the 65 dig, I guess. It's doing better than Haunt, which they directed and co-wrote, but I didn't see any stats on the numbers for that, so I think very, 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 very limited release where numbers are hard to find, or no theater release, I think is what we're dealing with in that regard. Anyways, let's move on to number 4, which is The Wild Robot, one of the two predictions I got right, making 6 million, adding to a domestic total of 130 million For DreamWorks, it has finally outgrossed The Enemy, Jerry Seinfeld. It's outgrossed B movie by 4 million. It now is sitting behind Kung Fu Panda 3 by 13 million, so very good. Worldwide, it is sitting at 292 million. 8 million away from the 300 milestone. That's pretty spectacular, isn't it? It has outgrossed Turbo by 6 million and Jerry Seinfeld once again, B-movie, by 5 million. It's now sitting behind Rise of the Guardians by 14. So there you go. Good stuff all around. Good news for my first of two predictions correct. If we can, just because I have nothing else to talk about, let's move on to number 2, which was Smile 2, the other prediction I got right this weekend. You know, in small little bits, holding over well, making 5 million, adding to a domestic total of 60 million, so that places it 45 million away from the original film at this point. Worldwide, it is sitting at 123 million, which places it 94 million away from the original. So, bada bing, bada boom. You know what I mean? Like, it's still doing very good. I am going to maintain my prediction that it doesn't have the momentum to outgross the original film at this point, but the fact that it is still steadily, like, closing that gap, even if it's not completely, you know what I mean? Like, for both domestic and worldwide, it's, under 100 at least until it gets to the original film, and I like that. And I feel like just with the consistency between both films and people enjoying both and, talking about it still, I think if they do decide to do another one, Smile 3, which I'm sure they must be because they're, low budget, 123 million right now. You know what I mean? Like they're rolling in that money. I feel like they'll probably talk about it, and I feel like if they do make that film, the audience could potentially be even bigger that time because people are like, yeah, they already proved themselves that they could keep doing this with Smile 2. I'm all in for what they do here. Or if they want to pivot to Parker Finn making an original film and just, plastering from the director of Smile and Smile 2, then maybe audiences will be like, oh, well, yes, I trust that guy. If you're telling me that this guy did those 2 movies, yes, I'm all in. It's just, it'll be interesting to see what happens with old Parker. I like that guy. Let's move on to number 6, which is Conclave, making 4 million, adding to a domestic total of 21 million. Still no significant worldwide total to, like, really bump it up yet. Like, if I was to include the worldwide number, it would just be like a couple 100,000, blah, blah, blah. But it did cross over the initial production budget of 20 million. It now needs 19 million to double that. I'm hoping, the fact that it is an awards film and people are still talking about it and maybe closer to awards time, and of course the release of some worldwide numbers, it will eventually double that. That would just be cool to see. I'm totally fine with a movie having success after its theater runs, but also I like current theater successes as well, like to see them, why not? Number 7 is Nora, making 2.45 million, adding to a domestic total of 7.2. Worldwide, it is sitting at 12.2. Yes, it did come back into the top 10. It has expanded into some more theaters. I have seen the film. I love the film. Can't recommend it enough. But also what's so cool is that because the initial production budget was 6 million allegedly, according to Wikipedia, this 12.2 total means that they have technically now doubled that budget, and for our show's standards means that it is a success. It's already a big front runner for so many Oscar races, Best Picture, Sean Baker for director, maybe even writer, and then Mikey Madison for Best Actress. And now technically it is a box office success, and people will keep talking about this movie probably, and it'll keep adding on, and that's cool. And also for Sean Baker, domestically it has outgrossed the Florida Project by 2 million, and then worldwide it has outgrossed the Florida Project by 1 million. So it is now his highest grossing film. And that's just cool. Can't wait to see what he does next with this. And especially if the, awards campaign goes well. Can't wait to see it, man. He's made some really good. I really love this, and I loved Red Rocket. Have not seen Tangerine. Florida Project, I remember that one not really being for me. I feel like now that I've kind of, aged out of high school, I might have a different reaction to it and different experience. I might not, but, I'm open to it because, I've really been turned around with his 2 recent films here. So, he's just a voice to watch out for. Number 8 is Here. Yeah, not really holding over well at all, making 2.42 million, adding to a domestic total of 9.5. For Zemeckis, it is still 1 million away from outgrossing The Walk. There's no worldwide total to bump it up. Like I said, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing started to sink, and that's exactly what's happening here. I do genuinely wonder if Zemeckis and company, Tom Hanks, whoever, thought that this was like an awards shoo-in. This has nothing really to do with box office analysis, but it's just something I like to think about as far as like artists' expectations. Like, did they look at this movie and really go like, yeah, this could be something. This could be our big moment this year. I don't know. Sometimes I just like to think about those silly little stupid things. Number 9 is We Live in Time, making 2.2 million, adding to a domestic total of 21.8. For the director, 17 million away from Brooklyn. Worldwide, it is sitting at 24.4, which places it 38 million away from that. Because it did cross over the 20 million threshold, I'm more willing, because there's still no production budget listed anywhere, but I am more willing to accept that they are good at this point. You know what I mean? Like, let's say what I said about Heretic, the high for the budget is maybe 10 million. Not that it's like this big, like, franchise movie where they need so much money, but I did want to like accommodate, you have two very popular actors right now, even though it is like a slice of life movie, you have those two, so I want to accommodate budget wise. So let's say 10 million is their highest. I'm more willing to accept that they are probably all good now. they've probably doubled a budget that they had. Unless, the worst case scenario, they for some reason dumped an ungodly amount of money into this for no reason. I don't think that's the case though. So cool. That's cool. And finally, closing out the video, number 10, Terrifier 3, making 1.4 million, adding to a domestic total of 53 million. As far as 2024 domestic horror films, it is still in the top 5. It's still in its number 5 spot, but now it is 7 million below Smile 2. Last weekend I said it was only 2 million or something like that. This weekend, because Smile 2 is technically the more recent film, and people are still wanting to see that film, yeah, it is gaining, and Terrifier is kind of slipping behind that one. But Terrifier 3 has had a hell of a run, all things considered. I mean, if you really crunch the numbers, as far as like Terrifier 3 had a $2 million budget and it didn't gross as much as Smile 2 domestically or worldwide, but the budget for Smile 2 was 28 million. If you crunch the numbers, there might be a slim possibility that Terrifier 3 either made more money, like they profited more, or they're not too far behind of what Smile 2 profited. Worldwide, sorry, small tangent. Worldwide, it is sitting at 68 million, so it is still number 7 for the horror films worldwide. Now 7 million below Speak No Evil, though. So catching up to that one, since that one's like gone from theaters pretty much, or it's not in very money to keep bumping it up. Still, though, really fantastic run. Glad that Terrifier 3 really, made waves the way it did. Can't wait to see what Terrifier 4 does whenever they get around to making that. Now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, gotta go with Red One, because it's really the only wide release coming out. I could predict a Real Pain for one of these other spots, because the numbers are so low this weekend. It's not too far out of the realm of possibility for it to weasel its way in, but I don't know. I'm just looking at like a Nora right now, and it expanded, but it's only made 2 million this weekend. Maybe a Real Pain is going to be on the lower end. That's kind of my thought process. But number 1, I do think will be Red One. Number 2, Venom: The Last Dance. Number 3, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Number 4, Heretic. And then number 5, The Wild Robot. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.